Their focus, though, again, is to really reset how everything works, and people have to be open to that. It's not just about the relationship with Canada, it's the relationship with everybody, and you could tell that in the meeting.
All of Canada's premiers were in Washington today to try and avert Donald Trump's looming tariffs. They're making the case to U.S. officials that they would hurt Americans too. Late in the day, some were granted an audience at the White House. Those in attendance say it was constructive, but more work is needed. Senior Trump advisors aren't the only group the premiers met with today. They also spoke with Canadian and American labor leaders about the damages U.S. tariffs will have on workers in both countries. Bea Bruske is one of those leaders. She is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress and joins us tonight from Washington, D.C. So, Bea, you just met with Canada's premiers who are making a case for policies that the CLC believes will support jobs on both sides of the border. How did that go?
We had a really productive meeting tonight of labor leaders across the U.S. and Canada with a number of premiers to talk about issues that are of common interest to workers on both sides of the border. You know, we have an integrated economy. We also have an integrated labor movement in many ways, in the sense that we have many international unions, and they understand the risks that are at stake for workers on both sides of the border.
Before that meeting with the CLC, the premiers met with senior advisors to the president. Did the premier share anything about that meeting?
They didn't share a whole lot, and I would leave it to them to comment on the various meetings that they've had throughout the day. Labor is very focused on also making sure that we are getting into spaces, that we're speaking with politicians at every level on both sides of the border about the issues and having a common message.
Bea, can we understate the extent these tariffs will hurt Canadian workers?
I don't think we can understate the extent. I don't think we've seen anything quite like it. We know that an estimate is that if it's a broad range of tariffs, as was first threatened, that we're looking at 1.5 million jobs within the first year. That is a huge number that's going to have significant impact, not just for those workers directly, but for their communities as well. And so doing absolutely everything we can to hold off tariffs and to negate impacts of tariffs is priority number one for all of us.
I mean, can you talk about now the weakening economic partnership between the Canada and U.S.? Because this is something that has been long-standing, and it's working, Bea. So why are we risking all of this at this point?
Well, I think we have to first of all stand up for Canadian jobs first and foremost. And so many of our jobs are interdependent on that trade going back and forth. Mm-hmm. We heard not just in the auto sector, but also in food manufacturing that various different components and products go back and forth so many times before they get to the end consumer.
Yes.
An increase in any kind of tariffs is going to have a significant impact for workers. It's going to also increase the cost of living for workers who are already stretched, who are already dealing with an affordability crisis on both sides of the border. Making sure workers understand what's at stake and that they're also speaking out and finding ways to collaborate on both sides is critical.
You're one of the people out there sounding the alarm. As our country continues to navigate the U.S. tariffs, what, Bea, do you think more can our premiers do to support labor and workers?
Well, I appreciate that Premiers Eby and Canoe in particular reached out and wanted to understand worker issues so that they can take those conversations back to their various different meetings as well. Working at every level of government in Canada right now is going to be critically important, having labor voices at the table, making sure that worker supports are front and center so that when things happen, workers can still make sure that they can pay their bills, pay their mortgage, pay the rent, is going to be critically important. And we've been calling on a whole suite of things for government to consider as these things roll out. We know that even just the threat of potential tariffs has already had an impact and has already caused layoffs in certain sectors.
Yeah, we also saw what they did to the markets. Thank you for your continuing work on this. That was Bea Bruske. She is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress, and she joined us tonight from Washington, down there fighting the fight for us. Thank you, Bea.
Thank you.